Good morning, good morning, good morning, YouTube. Big H Trucking coming to you from the holding pen of the 01. Been here since 11 o'clock last night. I just called for an update on my load. They haven't even begun to load the trailer yet, and I'm supposed to be in Atlanta at 12 o'clock p.m. So obviously that's not going to happen whatsoever. I already notified my dispatcher when I originally called 3 hours ago, when that guy told me, the night shift guy told me, you've got 2 trailers ahead of you. So in any event, I'm using this time to, guess what, catch up on my sleep, not kill my clock. And that's today's topic of conversation: how I run my clock. And I'm only been driving by myself or as a lease operator for Prime for 4 months, 5 months coming up. There's a lot of commotion going on there, so my eyes are going to be wandering across the street. So how I don't blow up my 70-hour clock, and how I do my recaps. And the reason why I make the money I make, it's all contingent on my clock. Now, when I first came into the business, I had a good trainer. Other than a few things, whatever, he was old school. He had 16 years as a lease operator, successful. Owned a house, brand new truck, brand new Harley Davidson. He knew how to run the clock, and that was through, trials and errors on his end, and toolage and old school toolage from his trainer when he first started. I thought it was a badge of honor to run out your 70-hour clock in 8 days, because you get 8 days to do 70 hours. But then you got to sit and do a 34-hour recap, which is a day and a half of, instead of you running down the street or running down the road to make money, you're sitting, not making money. The whole object in this game is to keep the wheels turning. The wheels turn, you earn, right? That's the bottom line. I try not to run more than 9 hours per day. So when I get a load of 15, the first thing I do is, obviously, you look at where you're going, and then you figure what the time is to get there. All right, let's say I get a load today. I got to run it up to Minnesota, 1,400 miles. I've got till Sunday to get there. Monday morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. I may, out of that one day, depending on traffic and certain situations, have to run a little longer than 9 hours. But as long as I stay 9 hours, that's 63 hours in 7 days. I don't need to do a reset. On the 8th day, I'm going to get back to 9 hours, because a recap is recapping what your first day is, plus 5 hours. I'm constantly getting time back each and every night. Now, sometimes it's 2 hours. Again, there's circumstances. But I have yet to sit one time in 4 months. I had to sit to do a 34-hour recap. But my FM kept me busy by getting trails. I was in Denver. I was picking up trails from FedEx. I was getting paid per trailer. So he kept me busy, which I know, then I understand that he's a great guy. But when I listen to videos and there's a team that has to do a 34-hour reset, that confuses me. I mean, when I was on the trainer's truck, we never did a reset, and we got washouts each and every time we left the 90. And sometimes, if you guys know, sitting at a blue beacon, you're sitting there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. One time I sat in line for 3 hours. It takes about 15-20 minutes for a truck to get washed. Ridiculous. And again, I try not. The only time I'll ever get a washout, I got a blower on board. Very, very important. Get yourself electric rechargeable battery leaf blower that does about 200 miles an hour. It says it on the box and on the actual blower itself. MPH 200 miles an hour, and blow out your trailer. And then, you know what? I don't litter. I was like, oh my God, are you gonna blow? You're gonna make? No. I blow it all the way to the end. I'll blow it out of the trailer, You get some fine dust that's going to go in. And then I do is I blow it into a little pile. I don't use it 200 miles an hour. I blow it into a little pile and I pick up the big heavy stuff. You go to truck stops anyway where there's shit bags on the ground, pee bottles everywhere. I mean, give me, being ridiculous about polluting. I mean, come on. Get yourself a blower so you don't have to sit in line and blow up your clock. Another thing that you need to do and understand is when you stop for a break, your half-hour break, it's off duty. Everyone probably knows that. But when you stop, say you had to stop to take a pee or you want to pick up a drink real quick for 8 minutes, don't stay on duty. Go off duty. Because if you stay on duty, it's going against your clock. Sleeper berth. What I do is, if I have to do a 1,500 mile, at some point I'm gonna have a drive through the day and a drive through the night. I set my alarm clock for 9 hours and wake up with an hour left of sleeper berth, if that makes any sense. I get up an hour before I'm leaving, because on the 10th hour, I'm going on duty and I'm doing a pre-trip. Every time I have a long trip, it's 10 hours in the sleeper berth. 10:01, I wait, make sure it clicks, because these are all DOT violations. I will be down the road by 10:20. Now, you also want to vary your pre-trip. You don't want to be consistent. I've heard you got to do a pre-trip for a half hour. You got to do a pre-trip for 15 minutes. A pre-trip is classified as checking your vehicle to make sure it can get safely down the road. That may take 8 minutes. That may take 13 minutes. So I vary every day. One day it's 9 minutes. The next day it's 12 minutes. The next day it's 8 minutes. The next day it's 13 minutes. I constantly fluctuate. When I fuel, I stay on duty and fuel. Anything more than 60 gallons, I on duty and log it. If I'm stopping in for a quick splash and go or just to fill a reefer, I'm going off duty. I've sat in terrible traffic. Terrible, where I didn't move for 10, 15 minutes. In that case, I go off duty. I'm not burning my clock up. My clock is what's going to separate me from others in making money. That's the key. It doesn't matter what company you're at. It matters how you manage your clock. Sleeper berth is the most important. You don't want to stay in a sleeper berth 14, 15 hours. Because guess what? I'm down the road 4 hours ahead of you. 4 hours times 60, that's 240 miles. I'm gone. I left you in the dust. And even governed at 65 miles an hour. I'm basing it on 60 miles an hour, say on I-80, where I can do 65. But average 65, because you're climbing hills, especially with a load on board. You're not doing 65 miles an hour. I typically will calculate my distance and time at 50 miles an hour for hills, for traffic, so I'm never late. So I'm there at the receiver or the shipper an hour before my scheduled time. I'm always on time, have not been late once. I've got 100%. Not to brag, but that's how I run my business. This is my business at the end of the day. And managing my clock is the most important thing I can do to generate as much income as I possibly can generate. Also, it shows my FM that I can do the hard loads, the loads that the loads that need to be there at a certain time. He knows that Henry will get it to where it needs to get to. I've earned that right. And if I get caught in really bad traffic, which I have again, I will let them know. I'll say, listen, I'm stuck in bumper to bumper traffic. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to be probably 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late. Sometimes those things happen. But don't think for a second they don't know exactly where you are. That guy right now, he knows I'm sitting at the 01. And I've been here because my clock says I went into sleeper berth at 12:15 this morning. If you manage your clock and your sleeper berth, with your sleeper berth, it's the most important. So let me go back to the sleeper berth. Sometimes when I talk, I may be confusing you. I confuse myself too. I set my alarm on my iPhone before I go to sleep, I obviously you figure out 10 hours from the time you go to sleep at birth, and that's it. So say it's 6 o'clock. My sleep at birth, my 10 hours is up at 6 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter. I'll set my alarm for 4:55. I'll wake up, wake up, go to the truck stop, because I'm usually at truck stops. I like to say rest stops, but I'm not the one that goes to Walmart's and stacks my refrigerator, because Peterbilt has a very small refrigerator, so I'm not storing much, and I don't want to cook. I'll go in, do what I need to do, the 3 S's for men: brush my teeth, load up on water, get some food, get a Monster. I love my Monster. Maybe a cup of coffee. I don't drink coffee that much, here and there, but so Monster's my source of caffeine. I'm back in the truck by 5:45. I'll smoke a cigarette, because I do smoke cigarettes. Stretch. It's now 6 o'clock. 6:01. Once I see 10 hours and 1 minute, I go on duty. I walk the truck, make sure all my lights work, make sure there's no leaks underneath the truck, make sure nothing's cracked, bent, or broken, if you can remember that from PSD. Look at my tires, most importantly, my trailer tires, my steer tires, my drive tires. Go around with an air gauge, make sure that they're full of air, even though we've got a monitor. I don't trust technology, still the old school, you check it manually. And I get back in the truck, and if it's 8 minutes, it's 8 minutes. I click the drop-down menu, vehicle inspection. Immediately, I go into off-duty. I'm pulling out. I'm going down the road. Drive my 9 hours. 9 times 50 is 450 miles. Again, depending where I'm going. I try to get I try to do the 500, 517. Like the other day, I did 578, but it burned out my clock. It took 10 hours and so many minutes. Try to stay at 9 hours. Again, that's 63 hours a week. You'll never have to do a recap. Now, for a team to do a 34-hour recap blows my mind. I'm not going to go into reasons. I have my own thoughts of reason why that happens. And typically, somebody's sleeping in the sleeper berth way too long. Don't stay in the sleeper berth for 15, 20 hours. You're leaving money on the table. It's your money. It is your money that you're blowing. You could blow as much as $20,000 a year if you don't manage your clock correctly. My trainer harped in me. We would have conversations for hours on end about how to manage your clock. And it's the most confusing thing in the world. To me now, it's second nature, because I understand it. Each and every week gets better and better and better and better. I've researched this. I've looked on YouTube. Not very much information on it. And you think a carrier, a mega carrier especially, would have like certain classes about clock management. I mean, there's logs. But you know what? Nothing comes better than from a person who's actually physically doing the job, not somebody behind a desk that read a couple manuals from the Carriers Association of America. Not to say that anything wrong with it, you want to grab as much information, but actual practical experience that has elements, that has different scenarios that come up. 63 hours is what you try to aim for a week. You'll never have to lose a day and a half of doing a recap. Never. I'm up 22. I've been out. This will be my, I believe, 6th week, going into my 7th week. I haven't done a recap. Prior to that, I was out out over the road 6 weeks. Didn't have to do a recap. Came close a couple times, because again, there are circumstances that happened where I had to really drive it out. But I still managed not to do recaps. I mean, resets. Guys and gals, that's the most important piece of equipment you have other than your truck, is your clock. Your clock management is absolutely basically what I'm trying to say is learn to manage your clock. Learn to use off duty when you're stopping for anything. Learn to use sleep of birth when you finish or when you back into the dock at a shipper or a receiver. Because again, like today or the other day where they took 4 hours to do their stuff, my 14-hour clock was still running. I managed to get that 4 hours back because my 14-hour clock expired before actually my appointment at the 90 happened. You've got to be smart. You've got to use your head, use math. Understand that the time that you can save on your clock will make you the money. You're in this business is hard enough. And to sit at a truck stop in a sleep of birth for 16, 17, 18 hours, you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to manage your clock. And again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. You know, sometimes I don't enunciate it correctly or explain it correctly. Off duty, anytime you're not rolling. The only time you're going on duty is to do a pre-trip, is at the shipper when yard move, pre-trip, shipper. The rest of it's off duty or you're driving. Sleep of birth when you're physically going back there and you're sleeping. Set your alarm an hour before your 10-hour break is up. Get up, go do your business, come back at 10 hours. 10:01, you go on duty and you do your pre-trip of the truck. And sometimes, you know what, I drive all sorts of the hours. My body finally got used to it. The hardest thing is getting your body used to it, especially the witching hour between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. where your body naturally wants to shut down and go to sleep. If that's the case, pull over, and I have done this. I pulled over at a rest stop. I shut it down, off duty once again. Took my half hour, 15 minutes, whatever. Sometimes that's all I need is 15 minutes to get back on the road. But your body will acclimate to the different schedule of sleep. So sometimes I'm like I said, 6 o'clock in the evening, I'm gone. Sometimes it's 4 o'clock in the morning where my 10 hours ready to go. Sometimes it's 1 a.m. Sometimes it's 3 a.m. Sometimes it's 3 p.m. You know, I know some of us don't like to go out at 3 p.m. because that 9 hours that leaves you at 12 o'clock, and trying to find a spot, which can be fearful at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, is slim and none. I've always managed to find a spot. As my trainer says, if it fits, it sits. Period. The end. I was at a Flying J last night. I mean, I could barely get out of the. I almost had to go through a fuel island because all the trucks were blocking the entrance. It's wrong. It's ridiculous. Most people are fearful in backing, especially when it gets packed up. My two biggest fears coming into trucking was backing. I'm getting better and better at it. It's a lifelong, it's a career-long practice session on the backing. Some days I can put it in one shot. Sometimes, some days it takes me 3-4 times to back up. But you know what? The most important thing is being safe. Don't bang into somebody. Don't destroy stuff. And the other one is clock management. I could not find enough information when I started about clock management. And by the luck of the draw, I got a guy with 16 years of experience that was able to really work with me. And when I left there, you know what? We worked as a team. And there was a few things that he did not explain. Get a trainer. And really important, guys, I can't emphasize this enough, to figure out that clock, work the clock. That's what I'm saying. If you have any questions whatsoever, don't be afraid to reach out and ask me. Again, if I don't have the answer, I'll always point you in the direction where you can get the answer. I don't think, again, there's not enough information online about the 10-hour clock, because you know there's going to be some people that contest what I do. But the bottom line is this: you can't deny the fact that when my 10 hours up, I'm running, and I try not to run more than 9 hours a day, because on the 8th day, that 9 hours, the recap is going to start recapping what I did on the first day, 9 hours, and then the 5 that I didn't use, because you get 14 hours. 9 and 5 is 14. So I hope everybody has a great day. If you want, please like, share, and obviously subscribe. Stuck at 60, a whole 60, but I appreciate all the 60 that do come aboard, that has come aboard and tend to watch it. You know, I'm trying to bring a topic a day because I'm a rookie. At the end of the day, I am really young, but I use my brain. You know, I'm not the sharpest guy in the tool shed. I have a lot of common sense. God bless me with common sense. I love asking questions. I'm a question kind of person. But in order to be successful, whether you're a lease, whether you're a company, whether you are getting a percentage of a load, or whether you are a flat rate, if you don't manage your clock correctly, you're leaving, and at the end of 12 months, it could be tens of thousands of dollars on the table. Think about that. Think about how much money you're leaving on the table. And again, those people who fail in this business is because they never figured out how to manage their clock. Again, you manage your clock correctly, your FM, your dispatcher knows, your fleet manager knows. And then that's where that trust comes in. You know what? He got it. He's figured it out. I ain't got to hold his hand. I know I can get a tight load. I'll give you one example when I get off. I had a load to run 558 miles from Virginia to Michigan. Again, it was a late start. I did something wrong. I didn't realize at the time. There was no way I was going to be able to go to the 01 because my 14-hour clock was up. It was going to be up at the time they wanted, and they couldn't move the appointment. They could only push it forward. They couldn't bring it back. So I'm like, I can't get there before 9 o'clock in the morning. And the load at the 90 was due at 4:30 in the morning. And I asked my fleet manager, I said, you've got to push this window up. There's probably no way I'm going to make 558 miles going from Virginia, which is really hilly, through Ohio, which finally flattens out, and up to Michigan. But the first 250 miles of that trip is up and down, up and down. But I also this is when I started paying really close attention to the clock. But through my calculations, I realized I could get there all within that 14-hour period. And lo and behold, I did. And my fleet manager sent me a note, said, great job on that load, because there was nothing he could do to push up I needed the time to be pushed up. I got there with an hour and 47 minutes, I'll never forget this, left on my clock. And by the grace of God, they took me as soon as I showed up. I was able to unload, and there was a flying, it doesn't matter, once I leave the shipper, I PC. And that's another thing too, guys, which just reminded me. Learn how to use your PC without abusing it. You know, once you leave your receiver, as long as you're within a reasonable distance to a safe haven, as they quote it, as they say, you can PC from the receiver to the truck stop. No problems. You can PC from a truck stop to a washout. You can PC in a truck stop. Do whatever you can to preserve your clock. Preserve drive time. Driving should only be done on the interstates and state roads, etc. Don't blow up your clock. Don't mismanage your clock. Again, without sounding redundant, you will not make it in this business. You will constantly blow up your 70. It's no badge of honor to run 70 hours. It's not. I thought it was, but it's not. It's ridiculous. The whole idea is, as long as you're here on the road, you want to keep running until you go home. Don't blow up your clock. Off duty, everything but pre-inspection and fueling. Sleep a berth after a ship or a receiver, after you're back into the dock. Click on, drop down menu, unloading, loading, depending on what you're doing. Sleep a berth, 9 hours, get out, go do what you need to do at the truck stop, rest area, etc. 10:01 on duty, pre-inspection, and down the road you go. It's tough. It took me a few months to get my body used to those different sleep patterns, but you can do it. You can be successful. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. It takes a little bit of thinking, willpower, and just have the confidence knowing that you can do it. Okay, that's it. Have a great Friday, everybody. Stay safe, make good decisions, and I'll answer questions as long as, when I stop, if you have any. Hopefully I was clear. I probably wasn't the most clearest because I'm still learning, but you know what? I'm not doing resets as a solo driver, especially. And the reason why I brought that up, and one last thing, the reason why I brought it up, because I was talking to somebody last night, and solo driver, and I'm like, hey, we started talking, and it just turns out that he had another 2 hours left of his reset. And I didn't want to get into it, with him, but that's when I said, you know what, I don't do resets. Because I remember him saying you could do 3 out, you could do 3 8s, 2 9s. I got that wrong, and 2 10s, I believe, and that comes out to 60, 65, 68 hours. Anything less than 70 hours per week, you'll never have to do a recap. But what's most important is what you do on your first day after the 8th day, because then you get that back. So again, 9 plus 5 is 14. Just keep every day adding time, every day at midnight adding time to your clock without doing a reset. Anyway, enough out of me. Great Friday. Stay safe, stay healthy, make great decisions, and thank you for stopping by Big H Trucking. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.